Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another awesome episode of Damos in the Class. And yes, we are still reading Hello Neighbor Missing Pieces. So, guys, how about you grab your copy and come on and join us? So, come on, let's go get started. All right, so I am going to start out, then Jamir will be next, and then Jalia. So, we're on chapter 11, guys. So, I throw a pair of pajamas into my backpack and forego my toothbrush to make space for the audio manipulator. It's built, and all we need now is to add the pre-recorded audio. I survey my bag's contents and decide that pretty much covers all I'll need. Downstairs, as I slip on my shoes, Dad and Mom watch me a little too closely. Excited for your big sleepover? Dad asked. Dad, I said, wincing. Sorry, you're super grown up. Totally not a big deal hangout where you might wear pajamas and might not sleep. That's not better, I say. I just remember to brush your teeth, Mom says, and I swear to the aliens she can see straight through my backpack to my missing toothbrush. Uh-oh. And say say thank you, she says. She's still irked that the Petersons haven't bothered to come by, but to her, please and thank you are holy words.
I will, I, I say, and solve the mysteries of the universe, Dad says, and Mom gives him a look. Sir, what are you implying that manner in
Hygiene.
hygiene are impossible reflexes of our son. You,
Mm-hmm.
he's 12, period. He's barely human at this age. I decide to end things before they get ugly.
Big father.
I decide to end things before they get ugly. So I'll say thank you. I tell my mom, and she swallows like she's she's one. So and I'll ponder the meaning of life. I tell dad. He I tell dad, and he gives me a dorky thumbs up. As I cross the street, my eye into
Ponder.
ponder, but not about life's meaning. I wonder how in the world I'm going to ask Aaron about everything I read in the old newspaper and Golden Apples amusement park, and his about his dad and Maya, because about his dad and Maya, because there's not a several of a chance that I'll be able to stop myself from asking. So Mrs. Peterson glides into the room like she's on wheels. So I don't even hear I don't even hear her until she's right behind me. Come on, a pile of sheets stacked on a top of pillow, correct, cradled in her arms. Her eye don't mean to jump. It's just that she surprised me.
Because
It's just that she surprised me. So wow. So I know I forget to put on lipstick today. But exactly how frightening do I look?
No, you don't at all. I mean, I just. Nikki, I'm kidding, honey. I have a light step. Mom's a teacher, but she danced ballet when she was in college, Maya says as she plunks down on Aaron's bottom bunk. She even danced at one of Dad's park openings. No one invited you, pariah, Aaron says, nudging Maya off his bed. Thank you, Miss Peterson, I say, taking the linens from her. She says, her eyes glazed over like she's distracted. Oh, you can call me Diane, honey, she says, focusing on me long enough to lightly tousle my hair. I said stop calling me that, Maya says, shoving Aaron's leg when he pokes her with his toe. Ow, your nails are like knives. Maya Pariah eats farts and papaya Erin sings, still poking her. Mom! Miss Peterson, Diane, spreads the sheets across the bottom bunk of Erin's bed. Stop calling your sister a pariah, she says, clearly lost in more pleasant thoughts. She's humming quietly to herself, somehow blocking out the escalating brawl between Erin and his sister. So, if you eat farts, does that mean you burp farts too? Is that why you always smell so bad?
You know what? Maya flushes pink and glances at me. I do not smell bad, Mom. But Diane is already on her way out the door. She's moving slowly, though, almost like she's forgotten where the door is. All at once, Erin and Maya stop arguing, and a sudden silence blankets the room. In that quiet, I can hear the faint song Miss Peterson has been humming to herself. Only now, she's practically whispering it, like she's afraid to scare away the memory attached to the tune. Maya follows her, still glowing grinsome, but she lands a final solid punch on Erin's bicep on her way out. I watch her leave. Ever since I saw the photo of her, Lucy, and that other girl wearing the golden apple bracelet in the newspaper article, I've been trying to understand what it would mean if that bracelet would have been found its way in my front yard. I still don't know, but I have a feeling Maya does, which means I'll probably never figure it out. Maya's even less of a sharer than Erin, if that's possible. As soon as Maya reaches the stairs at the end of the hall, Erin closes the bedroom door and waves me to his desk. He pulls a drawer open, and rather than take anything out of it, he reaches his hand all the way inside until his shoulder deep and still reaching. I look at his desk, and it doesn't take me long to determine that what I'm seeing is impossible. Flush against the wall, his desk can't stick out more than a foot and a half.
What the? Aaron swallows as he struggles to grip whatever hides in his magic deck first. Then he gives up and pulls the whole drawer out, comma, ex- exposing its missing back. First, he ducked down our heads together, and I understand there's a hole in his wall, so the drawer has a false back. You really are a criminal mastermind, comma, I say, and Aaron
Chuckles.
Then he hauls out his treasure. It's a box full of junk of the very best kind. They're determined
Dismantle
motors,
motors,
and remote control cars, common parts of an old toaster, some speaker wires, clamps, and locks, keys to nowhere. A discarded keyboard, a phone without its faceplate, and at least 3 broken calculators. It's a gadget head bounty. Holy aliens, Aaron, I say, and he swells in a way that I haven't seen. So I think this is what pride looks like on Aaron. I think this is what pride looks like on Aaron. From one weirdo to another. I know how elusive pride can be. It's all stuff I collect from the factory before you move here. So I wanted to make something out of it. Except I don't know how. He looks at me. Good thing you can use any of the parts for your audio synthesizer. All of the parts for your audio synthesizer. I can synthesizer. I can't believe I almost forgot to reaching for my bags. I pull out the finishing products and as quickly as Aaron's face lights up, it dims again, and I realize that maybe he wanted to help me finish it.
It's not ready yet, I hurry to explain, and some of the light returns to Aaron's face. No? I shake my head slowly and explain. We'll still need the recording. He smiles so wide, I think his face might split apart.
Keep reading.
An hour later, stuffed on survivor bars and bloated to the point of bursting, Aaron and I are a mess. I'm laughing so hard I can barely hold the microphone to the audio source. Every time Aaron lets one rip, we fall apart, rolling across this floor like beetles on our backs. Okay, this is a picture of the fart synthesizer and the recording part that they're talking about in the book.
It takes everything in me to gather myself, and I plaster on my most serious face, placing a hand on Aaron's shoulder. Fine, sir, I say. I dare say that you was your best work yet. He matches my seriousness, but only for a second, and then we both break. Boys, Miss Peterson says, peeking in the doorway. Are you planning to come down for a pizza at any point tonight? Or, sweet Mary, what is that smell? I laugh so hard my sides pinch. Aaron swipes the tears from his eyes. Sorry, Mom, he says. We're, performing an experiment, I say. Creating art, he says over me. Then we bust up all over again. Well, whatever you're doing, open up a window. A peep for Pete's sake, Miss Peterson says. That's toxic. Aaron farts this time accidentally, and I have to bury my face in the bottom bunk to keep myself from laughing to death or suffocating. Either one is equally plausible. Once we've calmed down enough to choose a series of Aaron's choicest farts for the synthesizer, we're suddenly at a loss for things to do. It's late, but neither of us is tired. Still, maybe out of habit or boredom, we pull on our pajamas and take to our bunks. Aaron on the top bunk, me staring at the slats from the bottom bunk. It's not the right time because no time is the right time. But somehow it seems more possible to talk to Aaron about his dad when I only have to stare at the mattress above me and not at his face.
So I gotta ask, I say, trying to sound casual, but no, I don't believe in aliens. Aaron says, Spirit. Wait, what? Sorry, man. But I know it's your, I
don't know.
I don't know, religion or whatever he says. For it's not my religion. For then I catch myself for pushing my shock aside. Seriously, how can he not believe in aliens? The proof is overwhelming. Oh yeah, overwhelming. I try again to bring up the most awkward conversation ever. So what's up with your dad anyway? The science that follows is painful. But I only have myself to blame it. Was perhaps history worth speak? To what do you mean? Aaron asks, but he's quiet and his voice doesn't ask. What do you mean? As much as how much do you? I mean, he's pretty intense, I say. But this is excruciating. At the rate it's going to take me a week to work up the courage to ask him what I really want to ask him. If Aaron knows his dad is the suspect of purposely making rides unsafe.
Uh,
Even thinking it sounds
absurd.
absurd. Period. Still, I can't shake the feeling he wants me to ask him. But why else would he accidentally bring me by the Golden Apple Park?
That's a point. He got a point there, right? Because why did he bring him to the park? That's what we want to know too.
Right.
Okay.
Aaron shifts in his bunk overhead, and I hold as still as I can so I don't miss a word. Just ask me what you want to ask me, he says. And suddenly, he does sound tired. He sounds like he hasn't slept in years. It's the old Aaron again, the one I encountered on our first few times hanging out. He's old beyond his years, burdened by something unseen. I've aged him. I weighed him down by bringing up the past, a past he has to know about. Of course he has to know about it. Why did you want me to know about the park, I asked, and he's quiet for so long. I think maybe he's decided to stop talking to me for the rest of the night. Then, after a long while, he says, he was a genius, like a real Einstein-level genius. I don't say anything because I do know that, and I don't want him to stop talking now that he's finally started up again. I'm not happy Lucy Yee died, he says, and this takes me off guard because of course he's not. Who would ever be happy about something like that? Then I remembered something else he said to me in this very room. Something he said like a confession, even though I didn't know it at the time. What does make a person bad then? Being happy when bad things happen.
Now you remember
Mm-hmm.
that we all had a problem with that.
Right.
When he
With
said
him
that.
asking that. Mm-hmm.
No,
Being
when
happy.
he said that he was happy.
Yes, when bad things happen.
So I think you answering your own question, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
But he stopped after that. Aaron said, and I understand now, the accident that killed Lucy also killed Mr. Peterson's career, a career that was becoming increasingly reckless with every new venture. Then Aaron really does stop talking. Before long, I hear the slow, even breath of his slumber above me. The weight on him has disappeared, at least for now, but it isn't actually gone. The weight has shifted to me, and I wonder how I'll ever fall asleep like him. I lie awake for what feels like an eternity, staring at the slats above my bunk, thinking about how long Aaron blamed himself for simply feeling relieved. Relief in the form of Lucy Lee's death. When I wake up, the only light in the room emanates from the recording light on the audio simulator. Aaron is still in the top bunk. He's snoring in the only clear indication he's even alive. I try to remember the last time I've slept that soundly, except he's not exactly peaceful. He's twitching hard, and if I listen closely enough between the bouts of snoring, I can hear him begging to the things of his nightmares. No, and don't, and please.
I lied. I lied there for a moment trying to figure out what exactly it was that woke me up. Because I was dreaming again, but this dream didn't start in the cart of the grocery store at all. So this one started in the tunnel. So it closed in on me, edging closely and closer to my shoulders and the top of my head until I began to sink.
To sink. Sink.
There I dropped to the bottom of something deep and dark, so dark I wasn't sure my eyes were even open. And while I don't remember much after that, but I do remember the voices that speak to me across the deep and dark expanse. I remember the chilling words it whispered to me finally, and then I woke up, but it wasn't the voice from my dream that woke me up. The dream that woke me up, it was a sound, but like the voice from my dream, the sound that woke me is long gone, and in its place is dirt. 'Cause between the civil bars and pizza, we did eventually sneak downstairs to eat. My mouth is a dessert, and as I stare at the bunk above me, where Aaron switches away, come on, I know there is no way I'm going back to sleep until I can get something to drink. 'Cause snatching a flashlight from the pile of
Orphaned.
something
Electronic.
electronics on Aaron's floor. I creep down the hall, taking care to
Avoid.
avoid as many squeaky floorboards as I can. But Aaron's house is full of them. The Miles door is shut tight, but Mr. and Mrs. Peterson's door stands open a crack, and I can barely make out the rushing of sheets, and I sneak by.
Just find the kitchen, get a drink, and go back to bed, I tell myself. There's something weird about sneaking around your friend's house when everyone else is asleep. When you're awake, you're a guest. But when the rest of the house sleeps, it's hard to not feel like an intruder. The thought of Mr. Peterson mistaking me for a home invader is enough to propel me down the stairs. And even though I know I made too much noise, at least I'm past the worst part now that I'm downstairs. Except I'm not past the worst part because suddenly I'm lost. I hold the flashlight up, disbelieving that I could actually have lost my way from the stairs to the kitchen, but I really have. The doorway to the kitchen should be right in front of me, shouldn't it? I walk forward, not believing what the flashlight is showing me. Yet, there it is, a wall where there should be a kitchen. I look to my right, but the living room isn't there either. In fact, all that's in front of me is a long hallway. I stop cold, the contents of my anxious thoughts creeping into my waking life. I shake it off, though, and remind myself that I'm just tired and thirsty, and I haven't seen this house at night. It's kind of a maze, even in the daytime, so I must have taken a wrong turn somewhere, between the upstairs hallway and stairs leading me there. I keep walking, still hoping that I'll find the kitchen just a little farther ahead. I don't, though. Instead, I find myself surrounded by closed doors, each boasting a slightly different doorknob and keyhole.
What? I'm just about to turn around and retrace my steps back up the stairs when I hear a sound I'd hoped to never hear again from this house. Ice cream truck music. The melody winds up, then down again, then goes silence and repeats the pattern. I step lightly across the floor of the hallway, pressing my ear against the door as I pass. Yet none of them seems to hide the source of the sound. Then the music stops. I wait to see if it returns, but all that greets me are the creaks and the groans of someone else's home. I've lived in enough houses that belong to other people to not be freaked out by those sounds. Still, there was something about that thud. I stop cold, strained. I wait to hear it again. I don't have to wait long. Thud. This time closer. This time with a dragging sound that follows, then another thud. There's no mistaking the sound now. It's footsteps. Footsteps that aren't moving quite right. I swallow, but I can't wet my dry throat. I want to turn around and go back down the stairs, but now I am not entirely certain the sound was coming from up ahead. The hallway is playing tricks on my ears, and the thudding and dragging now sounds like maybe it's coming from behind me. Are you getting scared? What y'all think that is?
Mm-hmm. Mr.
It's
Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, right? Okay, come on, Jamie, let's see who it is.
A
Groggy.
Mr. Peterson creeping up behind me, what he thinks is an intruder, a sleepwalking Aaron
Fumbling.
through his house, an
Actual
intruder, because none of the possibilities swirl why didn't I just get some water from the bathroom upstairs? The thudding and dragging would speed up and all at once. I understand why it's getting louder. It's moving towards me.
Talk louder.
It's moving towards me. So I turn to open the door behind me, no longer trying to figure out where the sound is coming from. But all I can think of is hiding until it passes. But the doorknob won't budge. So I try one farther down hall.
Down the hall.
Yeah, down the hall, but it's locked too. For the guttering is louder still, and I try another door. For
Mercifully,
this one opens, and I fall through its closing door behind me a little harder.
a little too
A
hard.
little too hard. For I
Went.
at the sound, then wait to see if the footsteps pass. For suddenly I don't hear them anymore. For I press my ear.
I pressed.
I press my
Talk louder.
I press my ear to the door, but it's as though there was never any noises in the first place. For no music, no footsteps, for no creaks or groans in the walls or pipes. For my flashlight is trained to a single spot on the floor, and only now do I realize I'm standing on a warm air rug, the kind you find in the sitting room of some rich old lady's house. For like maybe it was nice a long time ago.
Keep going.
But now it just looks like it's trying to hide something worse underneath.
I swing my flashlight across the room and find it cluttered with so much furniture, I can hardly see the walls that frame the space. There are burrows and bookshelves, glass cases protecting plaques framed in wood, and statuettes carved from crystal. I move closer and see Mr. Peterson's name etched into every single one, each praising him for a different accomplishment. One of the glass cases abuts a massive wooden desk that takes up a fourth of the room, and so much paperwork clutters the desk, even the imposing piece of furniture looks like it might buckle under the weight. I train the light on the papers, spread haphazardly across the surface, trying to make sense of a room that at one time must have served as an office to Mr. Peterson. There are large curled blueprints paperweighting at their corners with measurements and precise notations penciled beside each line and curve. Some of the names I recognize from old newspaper articles. The Bell Tower, the Deadweight, the Dragon's Lair, the most dangerous thrill rides from Mr. Peterson's park in the world. There are some I don't recognize. The Inverted Cyclone, the Whip, whose curves and lines cover the entire space of the blueprint. There's one blueprint that isn't done, that doesn't even have a name, but it spirals to the edges of the papers at angles that seem to defy gravity.
A smattering of red X mark areas on the design like some kind of treasure map. Only instead of signaling treasure, the X's have the words beside them like access, egress, and hatch. My mind is trying to keep up, but disorientation and fear have given the way to exhaustion, and I'm distracted by the need for water and sleep. I've just about resolved to ask Aaron about the room and the blueprints tomorrow morning when the beam of my flashlight lands on a filing cabinet shoved against the wall beside the desk. It's packed so fully the drawers are spilling out of their contents, with one fat file seemingly dominating the drawer. In that black marker, the file labeled reads Golden Apple Amusement Park. Uh-oh. My heartbeat quickens, and I grab for the file without thinking. Common sense should have made me rethink snooping in Mr. Peterson's study, but I've seemed to have lost common sense as I've lost my way in this winding house. I try pulling the file from the drawer, but it's wedged in too tightly. Instead, all I manage to do is dislodge a couple of papers, sending another few fluttering to the floor to join an already growing pile of spilled contents. The first piece of paper is a letter printed on a thick stationery with a kind of letterhead that exposes the paper. Um, this is the letter, and Jamir is gonna read it for you guys.
From the offices of Lind
Grouper
of
and Finesca.
Finesca. Dear Mr. Peterson, it is with
Prejudice
that we inform you we are
disinclined
to
pursue
charges against you, your business holding, and any
assets thereby
affected by said holding. While we feel a
significant
portion of the
liability
of the death of our client's daughter lies in your hands, given the state's courts finding places sold with responsibility on the Golden Apple Corporation's our client
has elected
not to pursue civil damages in finding you criminally
responsible
in the death of UCV. While we reserve the right to
re-engage
in proceedings at a later date, consider this letter official not
notice
that we are
discontinuing
pursuit of charges against you on the date of Master Peterson.
Sincerely, Fonseca.
All right. So does that mean that he's not responsible, or he is responsible?
He is responsible if there are no
civil damages, but not criminally. Is that what I heard? Look at that here.
Our client has elected not to pursue civil damages, finding you criminally responsible in the death of Lucy Yee.
So they didn't want no money. They wanted, which I can understand because money can't replace anyone. So they didn't want to do civil damages, which you could have sued them and got.
And they said we feel
financial thing.
A significant portion of the liability of the death of our client's daughter's lies in your hands, given the state court's findings. So they do believe that Mr. Peterson was responsible for the death of Lucy Yee, but they're not seeking to punish him, from my understanding.
I don't know what's worse. Because to tell him that you are criminally responsible, but we're just not going to do the charges, and everybody just hates him. That's sad. Okay. I don't even know if I want how much, this is sad. It's hard. I'm a mom, so this is a lot. All right, so it's your turn now.
I blink at the letter and translate the legal jargon as best as I can. Their client's daughter was Lucy Yee. It must have been Lucy's parents suing Mr. Peterson for their daughter's death, but the state found the Golden Apple Corporation responsible, not Mr. Peterson, which means Mr. Peterson probably would have been absolved in civil court too. I picture my parents in that same situation, stone-faced in a courtroom while some faceless company is named as my killer. I wonder how it feels to hurt that badly, to not get an apology, to not be able to look anyone in the eye and say, you're the reason I don't make jokes anymore, or eat cake, or go to parks because there are too many kids there who will remind me of the one I don't have anymore. I wonder how it feels to be robbed like that, again and again. I wonder how it feels to know your dad was the real robber. I accidentally stepped on the pile of papers I contributed to on the floor. In the shadows of the study, they looked like grainy photographs of a forest, a construction site, a group of people crowded around a work table. But when I picked them up and laid them across the desk, the beam from my flashlight revealed something unexpected. This first picture is a photocopy of a newspaper article. Ground breaks on hometown landmark. Construction begins on buzzed about Golden Apple Amusement Park. Below the headline is a thick grove of trees, a bulldozer, and a team of workers with chainsaws ready to clear the land.
So before we go on, now the state found that the park was responsible and not Mr. Peterson.
Mhm.
But people don't really know how to separate that because he was the mechanic.
Exactly. Right.
So that is a better thing to know that he literally isn't responsible. The company that he works for, which still is not the greatest way, but still, that kind of means that he didn't necessarily like do something as a mechanic to cause it.
And that it wasn't purposeful. You
Right,
know.
it wasn't purposeful because, you know, even if he was a mechanic, I'm sure it's supposed to be some other type of checkpoints or something that the
They
hired
all
people were
work together,
supposed
right?
to do that they didn't do. So this is why it was held against the whole corporation. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to say because I just thought that. And then what did they just say about the groundbreaking stuff? Well, we don't know. We're about to start talking about that. So sorry, I just really wanted to go into talk about the fact that he probably isn't really hand wise. He didn't break the machine himself. There were other complications, but there should have been overseen in some type of thing that wouldn't have signed off on something he was working on, which makes him seem liable because he's the worker. So that's the thing, you know, when you work for other people, there's supposed to be someone who checked off on it.
And it's still hard to separate it because as the parents write in the letter to him, they still feel like it's still his fault, but the state findings show that, like she was saying, you know, with the rides and everything, that's just not his sole responsibility. So, you know, they're mad at him, but it's a sticky situation.
But they want to stay mad because they don't even want any compensation. Like, I'm not saying money makes it better, but like when you get no acknowledgement, that really hurts. So to have the company, like you said, a faceless company be the culprit, it's not really a just,
right?
Yeah, it's not really just due. So that's a very difficult situation to be in, and I don't wish that on anybody. All right. Mr. Peterson is in the foreground construction hat, high on his head, mustache curled to match his smile. But in the background, nearly out of frame, is a stooped figure lurking by one of the trees. I likely wouldn't have noticed him at all if not for the red ink encircling his figure, the pen in retracing the circle so many times that the page is torn. I might not have noticed it at all, but now that I do, there's no mistaking who it is. Blurry and marred in the red ink, it's Aaron. He's younger, 5 years younger if it's at the start of the construction, but it's Aaron. And while he's blurry, it's hard to deny that his pose implies he's hiding. I push that page aside and find another photocopy of an article. Ahead of schedule, pressure mounts for the Golden Apple Amusement Park to open by summer. In this picture, Mr. Peterson points to a crane swinging a beam across the framework of what was to become the base of the funhouse. Judging by the gaping mouth surrounding the beginnings of the track, all eyes are on Mr. Peterson's in the picture, including the crouched boy circled in red, peeking out from the funhouse framing. The next article is dominated by an entire crew of his men in vests and hard hats, staring upward at a structure so tall it doesn't fit into the frame, which makes it more noticeable that one head stares straight ahead rather at.
And then in between is this picture.
Show the picture. Rather at Mr. Peterson standing at the front of the group. Aaron is once again encircled in the red ink, hanging back by a pile of iron rods.
So here's a picture of the news articles they were discussing about the construction of the Golden Apple Amusement Park, and there's Mr. Peterson. And then circled in red is Aaron hiding, and you can see his face. So yeah, that's pretty deep because that's his dad. Right?
Wow. Yeah, well, so I see Maya and Aaron with his face, but why do they have Aaron covered, like circle? Why is he circled in every picture? who did this. And yeah, I do see him over there hiding. But what I'm noticing too, they said Brown waking ahead of schedule. Maybe that's the reason why it's complications, because they were moving ahead of schedule, so they skipped some steps trying to hurry up and get it open, which made it then the company's fault.
Right.
And basically sounds like Mr. Peterson just was doing what he was told to do, even if it resulted in the death. I'm sure at the time he didn't think that. He just thought that, listening to the boss, right?
I would think Mr. Peterson was a lot more innocent if he didn't operate the way that he did. So it's still like, right. So if it was accidental and it was like, hey, I was just listening, I was doing what I was supposed to be
then
doing.
You got to think about it. Look how the whole town is viewing him.
Mm-hmm.
So now I feel like more he's seen creepy because he's hidden. Like after that, it's like, do you feel comfortable coming out? You see how the other kids don't play with Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it seems like he's creeping because he's standoffish, because, like, why is he coming over to you when he knows y'all don't want nothing with him?
Still, why does he still live in the neighborhood?
That's
knowing for so many years, what's he been dead? So why would you still live here in a place where everyone is disgracing you and they're blaming you?
because you probably never thought that they would be that. Like,
all the newspapers and everything?
Well, not even that. I'm just saying that you think people could forgive, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? If it was really accidental, like, well, would you really think that you should have to uproot your whole life?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, at some point, can we get... I'm not saying it like she wasn't never here, but can we get past this? Can we move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, he had a house there. You know what I'm saying? So why should he have to, like, literally uproot? And if he literally was just following protocol, or at least what he thought was protocol, and what if he wanted to do more and they just didn't let him? No one really knows the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it seems in the end. He was an accomplice because he was a worker.
Mm-hmm.
But is he the only worker? What about the other people? What about the other people who was working?
Singling out him?
Right. Maybe it's because it was that rod that he was the mechanic on. Mm-hmm. But there's more than one person who has to touch the rod.
Right. People have to oversee it. Like, that's.
So who else worked at the Golden Music Park? Are you
mad
at all the employees that worked at the Golden Park, or are you just mad at him?
Right.
That's what now I think we want to know.
Because
if you're mad at everybody, then we get it. And maybe if everybody else left, and he's the only one that lived in town, like, really? Come on now, because that's like Carowinds or Great Adventures or anything. Like, people locally, right, they live there, they work at these places. So he can't be the only person that still lives in the community that worked at this park.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Page after page shows Aaron nearly out of the frame,
ousted
from his hiding place by the red pinned
wielder.
But I look around at the rest of the office. It's
hulking furniture,
casting the
distorted
shadows across the frame picture of the Petersons family. It strikes me that this is the only room in the entire house where I've seen any family post photos at all. But when I examine the pictures closely, I see that they're also been marred by red ink.
The places smiling
faces of Mr. Peterson and Maya grace most of the picture, as the Mr. Peterson, the only unsmiling face is
Aaron.
And as the Peterson's family ages, their shroud turn from places to pinch. And
what is that? Pinched? Like, what? From places to pinched. Pinched might mean you definitely was looking along.
Or like you disapprove of something, like.
Yeah, something. Because.
And Aaron's face disappeared altogether behind the scribble of that angry red pen. where only one picture offers more than scribble what appears to be the last family portion taken of the Petersons. The Petersons juggle by their judging by their ages. Beside the edged way face of Aaron is what I first read in his name. But when I look closer, can my eyes see that the word isn't
his name?
Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Almond.
I drop the flashlight and the room goes black. I stand in place, trembling on a squeaky floorboard. It's too late to avoid. Then from somewhere in the dark. Somewhere in the dark, I hear the slow creak of a door swinging open. So his name is not Aaron, it's Almond?
That's what it's saying in the book. His name ain't Aaron, he's Almond.
That's what it said.
Omen. His name is Omen, not Aaron. Get it right.
I was so engrossed in the pictures, I didn't even hear the footsteps return. The thump, the drag, the labored movement of whatever has emerged into the room is so close that I can hear breathing I know isn't mine. Run. Run! But my stupid feet are stuck. I want to be dreaming. Please let me be dreaming. But I know I'm not. I know I'm not. The breathing grows louder, like an animal preparing to pounce. I hold perfectly still, my only defense in the pitch black of the room. But whoever is in here knows I'm here. Floorboards moan under the weight of feet that methodically make their way toward me. They step to the glass case, rattling the awards on their shelves. They step to the desk, with its papers exposed to my prying eyes. They step to the filing cabinet, its papers still protruding from the drawer. They step so close to me that I can feel that hot, menacing breath on the back of my neck. In its exhale, I hear my name. Nicholas, the voice says, you shouldn't be. A soft glow illuminates the floor and the flashlight at my feet. Looming over me is an impossibly long shadow. I turn because I don't know what else to do. I can't run. I can't hide. All I can do is face the shadow. Heat hits my face and temporarily blinds me. And when my eyesight returns, the first thing I make out is Argyle.
I tilt my head to reach the top of Mr. Peterson's face, and I don't like what I see. His eyes darkened by and distorted by the flame of the candle he holds and barely visible. Below his eyes are the flaring nostrils of a man whose house I should not be wandering without permission, whose private office I should absolutely not be rummaging through. His thick mustache curls upward, mockingly belying the frown that's only barely visible underneath. I look down at my bare feet again, terrified and embarrassed, which is the only reason I notice that Mr. Peterson's shoes are on. In the middle of the night, I looked up again, taking in his pants and his argyle sweater. I'm in my pajamas, but Mr. Peterson is fully clothed. I struggle for answers to questions I think he might ask, but he doesn't ask anything. In fact, he hasn't said another word since I turned around to face him. He's just staring. I watch the light from his candle flicker and sway in the draft of the house. But Mr. Peterson holds it perfectly still. That's how I notice his hands smeared and coated in something thick and dark. My eyes travel upward, and I don't know if I'm expecting an explanation for why he's here, what is in his hands, why is he up so late, or if expecting an explanation from me. But what I'm not expecting is that smile. That horrible, out of place, unhappy smile that suddenly crept out of from under his mustache and spread across his whole face.
Then he starts to laugh. It's a loud rumble from his gut at first, but soon it travels through the chest and his throat, and out of his mouth, and the light
Airy. Giggle.
giggled is so
Vastly.
vastly different from the growl. It starts as I am all at once aware of how much of the room he takes up. For his shoulders are
Broad.
broad enough to equal twice, but
My way.
wide width. Correct. I can barely see the doorway behind him. Correct. And all I want is the doorway. It's that doorway. Correct. Then as suddenly as his horrifying laughter, I started it stops and he holds the silence between us with a
Grasp.
grasp as tight as that on his candle. He leaned down inches from my face and licked my eyes. Nightly night, Nicky, he said with a single puff, he blows out the candle and steps aside. I sprint out of the room and find the stairs running on feet. I can't feel anymore. Where I run past the hallway, I was so desperate to traverse quickly, quietly, moments ago. In Aaron's room, I swing the door shut behind me, locking it against what lurks in the darkness. Where I look to the top bunk where Aaron sleeps, certain the commotion woke him up, and but he doesn't even snore anymore. Where he lies still, his face obscured by the comfort, and I wait for a second to see if he's actually awake behind there. For when only silence greets me, I'm left with the sound of my heart pounding away in the ears, my teeth chattering in violent rhythm as I fight to calm myself. Then once I'm finally still, I prop my pillow against the wall and watch the door from the bottom bunk flinching every time the wood of the old house pops off suddenly.
I've forgotten the drawer full of possibilities. I've forgotten the water I never drank. I've forgotten the excitement I had about finally making a friend as strange as me. All I remember is the music in the basement, photo after photo of Aaron's circled image, the grime of Mr. Peterson's hands, and that mad smile that grew from a face that's forgotten joy. So y'all, this was a really, really crazy chapter. I was scared, like Mr. Peterson was behind my back when he was in the office, came up behind him, breathing on his neck. It seemed like he was just trying to scare him on purpose. Once he said "nighty night, Nick," and he started laughing. But you know, he was definitely snooping in some stuff. You know, it's a lot to figure out about them.
What you think?
It was crazy too that the people thought that he was in charge of the death of Lucy Lee.
Yeah, that was the saddest part about the chapter. I don't know. For me, I'm just need to hear a little bit more. So I'm more looking forward to chapter 12, guys, because I need a little bit more explanation about where we at. And so he found him in the house, but wasn't it a sleepover? So shouldn't he be in house? And then on top of that, I mean, I get it, he's creepy, but I just want to hear more. Like, I want him to talk. I want to hear him say something where we get some hard proof. Because reading old newspaper clips, like, I want to hear what he got to say. I want him to say something. I need him to say something or show me he's really a killer. But right now, yeah, because right now, I mean, like, he's creepy and all. And
yeah,
he,
that's not
and
enough.
he be right, but it's just not enough because I just feel like you in his space though, so he could be what he want to be. Like you at his house, so the noises you hear in his basement, that's his basement. Why you mind his business? I'm just saying. But to know what's happening, I just want to know, like, is Aaron gonna bring the newspaper to him and ask him like, what's this? Like, stop beating around the bush.
Right.
Because now he afraid to ask. So like, why you afraid?
Yeah.
And then what's the other boy name? Remember his friend, his
Enzo?
father, Enzo. Right, Enzo
Yeah,
already
yeah,
said he don't hang with him because of that. None of the kids do. But then Maya was hanging with the other kids, and what's Maya's story? Like, I need to know more about Maya.
Because
That's his
Nick
sister.
said Maya is just as closed
No,
as Aaron is.
She said that
If
she
more,
shares less.
Yeah, shares less.
So that says a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, Nick wouldn't snoop so much if they didn't operate the way they did. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to find Mr. Peterson innocent when they just don't operate like a normal family. And then you take him to the Golden Apple amusement parks, and then you don't want to answer certain questions.
But I think he took him there because I guess he feel like, okay, everybody didn't talk to you about it. I know you heard.
I don't think that wasn't even the case. Nick had just moved in,
True.
and that was his first friend.
Or that chick going to here. I don't know. But either way, guys, I hope you join us back for chapter 12. We will have our books, and if you don't have yours, don't worry, because we are here to read it to you. So, until the next time, guys, we'll see you on the next read.